let's get right from the beginning. So how did you start in fitness?
In fitness?
In fitness
We're
in
taking
general.
it all the way back.
All the way back. Let's go back to square one.
Imagine a prepubescent, not like overweight, but a little chunkier girl who was moving here actually to school when she was 16. Never knew anything about fitness. Was not a team sports type of gal. Really was horrible at that. So I came, and that's when like adolescence hits, when you like kind of care about how you look like now and like what guys think of you and maybe other girls, you know. But I had never been in a school where you know, relationships were a thing. Like I went to a very conservative school in middle school, so no boys, no touching, no kissing, no none of that. So when you get opened up to that realm, you start to get very self-conscious because you're like, okay, some attention's coming towards me. What are they like? What are they not like? And that's kind of when I actually had a very negative experience, and somebody told me like, oh, you'd be kind of cuter if you lost weight. And my personality type is the one to take that and just run with it in the opposite direction. So I started going to the gym for all the wrong reasons, and that's when I built very unhealthy habits at the gym. Cardio all the time, 45 to an hour on the treadmill, doing God knows what, like lunging on the treadmill, you know those girls? That was me. Then we went into the lower body phase where I did like lower body for every session of every existing session. And then I got influenced and I met my partner, and he was actually the one who was like, you know, you have like a 50% of the other half of your body that you should probably work out. And I was like, understood. Yeah. And that's when it kind of took off. In college, I didn't have that many friends. I'm a really nice person, I promise. It's just sometimes you don't get on with people, you know? So I would classify myself as an introvert. So when I went to college and I really did get on with people, I decided the gym was going to become my best friend and further educating myself that way. And that's when I saw a massive gap as being the sole female in the weight section. I was telling Keen earlier this week. It was called like the big dogs and the puppies or something. Oh, it was atrocious. Like only back then was that allowed. Like now, I feel like you'd get a lawsuit or something if that was the case.
That's definitely, yeah.
But I was in the big dog section and all the other ladies were with the puppies or whatever not. And I realized it's very unconventional, especially when I was there at the time in Europe, to have girls train the way that I was training. Not that it was anywhere near the caliber that we have here at Iron Hive at that time, because we're all starting out. Fitness was just picking up, especially for females in the weight section. And then, you know, through people seeing me do it, I was able to get some friends through the door, and they started their fitness journey, and that's when Edana Fitness was born. So that's around 7 years now.
So we've seen, well, I've seen the picture before when you were really super skinny.
Yeah.
Talk me through that time.
I think when you are heavily pushed into a space where like your aesthetics is kind of where your value is, it's hard when you're really growing up and understanding who you are as a person to not intake so many opinions about yourself. And I guess at the time, as a lot of females will know, like skinny and like smaller and making yourself as small as you can was the standard of beauty at that time. And what I love now is that we're kind of going on the other direction. We're going built, muscle, strong. That's the new superior standard. But back in the day, I was like, okay, let's run with it again. And I had maybe like granola and some yogurt for dinner that day or something like super extreme. And then I would feel bad about this and the other. So it was really to, not as an extreme case of, you know, anorexia, but definitely unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy gym habits, unhealthy social habits because of this. And like relearning how to love your body and how to love food for what it does, which is fuel you for things that life provides. But that took a lot of time, a lot of time. I think for me, the most freeing experience was realizing that nobody actually cares about you. And take that lightly. We care. You know, you have connections with people, you have relationships with people, and people love on you and they care about you, family, friends, significant other, sure. But at the end of the day, humans as a species are very self-indulgent. They only care about themselves truly at the core, which is kind of freeing in and of itself, because when you are so overly concerned with how people look at you or how people think of you, that's your full consumption. That's like where your life is at. If you do something wrong, you'll overthink that for the rest of eternity. Or if you make a mistake, you think you're a failure. That is so far from reality. Like in reality, the person that you think is thinking about you all the time has probably forgotten it by now. Or the person that you think is so obsessed with the fact that you are maybe a kg heavier than you were yesterday probably forgot about it by now and is concerned about their own stuff. So that's what I tell my girls all the time, is that it has to be a goal for you, for your lifestyle. It has to be something you can sustain and that brings you joy first and foremost. Because if it doesn't, and you're just, you know, torturing yourself essentially for something that's never going to bring you happiness, this is not, like, I can't help you. And that's something you have to understand. I want to build a connection with you, and you therefore build a connection with yourself in fitness and in health.
What I'm about to talk to you about is Edana Fitness.
Yeah.
How did that come about and how is it going?
I think, I would say sometimes some of the issues that I think I've resolved in terms of like body image and all that stuff slowly reoccur when it comes to social media. And I think a lot of girls who are trying to pursue something like personal training, which is you are your business, you know, you're selling your brand and your brand is yourself. It's really, really bloody hard to separate the two. And I find myself coming back to like, follow what you preach, you know, like people don't care, but in the nicest way. It's been a blessing to be able to, you know, share so much of my growth on a platform like Instagram, but it's also hard to not second guess everything that you're doing, or, you know, fact check or consider other people's views on your content, especially when everything is with numbers. Oh my gosh, like back in the day, I used to triple check, and it's really embarrassing to say it now, but I'm sure that a lot of people don't admit it. Like they'll go back and they'll see if their content is doing really well. And if you put a lot of effort and detail and love and passion into something and it just bombs out, you can go home and sit and just be like, oh my God, you're a failure. Or like, everybody hates that video, you know? But in reality, I found that if I'm really proud of what I do and I find that's gonna help somebody, actually help somebody, then do it. Like now I look back though, and I think it's really cool with Edana Fitness is that it's a log of my life. And I can go back and see all my fitness scam mentality stuff that now I've divulged as fitness scams. Like, you know, I was booty banding everything, bro. Like booty band this for core, booty band this for like God knows what, flinging that stuff all over the place. And I'm like, okay, that's suboptimal and probably could hurt somebody potentially. And don't worry, I've gone through and I've adjusted what I deem to be safe for the majority of general population.
How many people did you have at your very first Strong Peach class? Do you remember?
Oh, my very strong
peach?
7. My boss is telling me 7. For me, and this class, I'll take it back. Like Keen and I laugh about this all the time, but I cried my eyes out after my first Strong Peach class to my brand new bosses. Like I literally sobbed. I was like, there was a failure. Like I can't, nobody's gonna come back to this class. Like the structure was completely different back in the day. That's super important to know as well. And Keen actually sat me down. He was like, okay, listen, what do you do? Like, how do you train? And realistically, like, why would we not do that? And I thought about it and I was like, okay, you're right. It is feasible to kind of make this purposeful for a class. So we tried it out and boom, genius, he's genius. But it worked, and a lot of people actually saw their potential through the class. And that's the winning point, is that not everybody who came had been to the gym before. I even picked up a dumbbell and I realized it's not that you can't do something, it's that you don't see your potential yet. And that's what I want every coach to do, is see the potential in every client that comes in, because just because they've never done something does not mean that they can't do it. You have to find a means to get them there eventually. And if you can't, you learn, you find a way. That's the purpose of being a coach. That's why we have regressions and progressions in every aspect of any movement, so that everybody can get there eventually. And that's what Strong Peach did, was that people started coming in, they started squatting. Then from squatting, they realized they could squat a little bit more, and then they could do this variation and this. And then they started seeing strength goals getting met. And then they saw muscle. They were like, where did this come from? Like the other day I was looking at one of my clients who's been a long time client. I was like, you realize you have a bum now, right? And she's like, yeah, I show it off a lot. And I was like, respect. I was so happy about that though, because it really, like seeing somebody just come into fruition and just be super confident because they've put the effort in themselves, not because they come to a class, not because of me, not because of Strong Peach, but because they put the effort in. And that's why Strong Peach works, is because you build. It is progression in some way. And you show up and you build a community of other girls who are building. And boom, success. Nothing to do with me, truly. It's just showing people that they can, and eventually they will. And when they will, they think they have to thank you. They don't. They have to thank themselves. And I just facilitate.
What started as like a general fitness class to attract new clients become this kind of community, and now you just did an event.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. I would love to talk about that event, actually. Elaborate.
So, of course, when we were looking at the calendar of events and such, and I saw International Women's Day as it occurs every year, I jumped at the opportunity. I told our team, I was like, that's mine. Dibs. That's mine. We're gonna do that. Nobody else is gonna do anything about it. And I actually got approached by a lovely, one of our members. Her name's Emma. She's, responsible for Bangkok Rising, which is also a really awesome group. You guys should check it out. But we wanted to partner together to do a charity workout event for women. And she is all about the same thing as I am, which is empowering women. And I feel like the term empowering is so, I was telling Errol, the term empowering has now become like a buzzword. I hate it. I hate it. Because I really, I love the what it means, but now that it's been thrown around, it just takes away the meaning of it. But it really is about just showing women that they can do absolutely whatever they want. So we did a little bit of a workout in the beginning, 200 wall ball accumulations in a team, no nonsense stuff. And then we got some awesome booths to come and, give a percentage of what they made off to the charity. And we actually made almost 30K to send off to our charity, which is the Freedom Restoration Project, which is also something you guys should check out. But, when you put women together and work as a team, it's absolutely insane. The energy was so fantastic. Everybody loved working together. There was no competitive edge to it at all. It's just pure fun. And they know it's for a good cause. And we did raise a lot of money because we also do love to shop. So we raised 30K, we were able to give that off. And we just had so many awesome people involved. So many awesome people. And I really am grateful I had some people from other gyms come in, not only our gym, they saw the cause, they wanted to participate. And it was just women rah,
Why did you take such a big interest in kind of helping girls, not just teach them fitness, but teach them how to think mentally? You're more you always tell me your job is more like a life coach and a trainer.
Oh yeah.
Especially with females, Actually, this week I was consulting you about a personal problem. So you're great at that already, but I think with females, especially.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it kind of relates into why I think empowerment is such a buzzword and why I don't like it.
Tell me about that.
Because I think it leaves this sensation, this understanding that women need to be empowered. And I hate that because we don't need to be empowered. We don't even need opportunities. We make our own opportunities if they don't. If there's not a seat at the table, we're gonna make a seat at the table at the end of the day. It's just about allowing the proper guidance. And sometimes you just need a little nudge. And that's exactly what my job is. It's not that you don't have the tools, you have the tools. You just need to know how to make the product. And I know how to make the product now, and I'm gonna teach you. And that you can go off and teach whoever you want after that point, what you've learned, and take that on. Not necessarily in a personal training sense, but a confidence sense, because you shouldn't teach other people if you don't have a qualification. I just want to let that out. Okay, anyways, but that's the thing. Women don't need to be empowered. We don't even need opportunity. It's just, if you give us 2 sticks, we'll make a freaking hut. And then the hut becomes a tower, and the tower becomes Siam, Icon Siam, So that's my analogy. But for me, training with my ladies, it's just, hey, I know you have it in you. You give me some time. I'm not actually here to train you. Yes, I am. I'm training them. But I'm here to build your confidence in who you are and show you that you can. And eventually, once you get to Cannes, you will find that you can do absolutely anything. And that's what it is. They find somebody who's not only a coach, but a friend, and somebody who actually listens and sees them for who they are. When you train, it's not your prettiest. You'll fail, you could cry for failing a lift. Some people do. You have stuff that happens externally in your life that you can't just mask, and you need to let it out and talk to somebody. It all comes together. We are human, and at the end of the day, we crave relationships with other beings. And sometimes when you're unsure whether you can do something, it's just a small nudge or a little bit of guidance. And that's what I love about my job. Of course, boss, I do love my job in the sense of the job, but I love the job about, in terms mostly of relationships with people that I meet, because they grow so exponentially.
Do you see people at times going down that road where you want to address it. And how has that made you feel?
I see myself in all my clients, every single one. And they range from youngins all the way to, you know, a little bit on the older side. But every single one of them, I see some part of where I was. And I find that also super comforting because from my experience, it can only go up from here. Yes, it's trial and error. Maybe the graph looks a little bit like, but it's up. And eventually it has provided me with the means to really understand and facilitate them. It's even nice sometimes because I see aspects of them and things that really inspire me through their lives. Like none of us are different and all of them have gone through a different journey, but there's stuff that I relate to so heavily and there's stuff from them that I am like, wow, how did you do that? Can you teach me? Or like, do you have any advice? It is really like a symbiotic relationship in a sense. And I'm sure that, you know, they look at me similarly and they're like, okay, they see somewhat of me in them or them in me or whatever the vice versa of that is, Nick. It's getting confusing. It's always a really intimate experience, not in a way that makes anybody uncomfortable, really just understanding each other I see them every day, almost every day. So, you know, when you see each other every day for years, you get pretty close and you can tell from the moment they enter the room whether they're gonna put in 100% effort today, 0, are we just gonna talk? Are we just gonna have a chat? Do you need to have a little bit of a cry? I'll facilitate it because the fact that you feel safe enough to come here and express those emotions to me means that we're doing something right together. And I can also have the same, of course I'm gonna be professional and make sure that we get the things that we need to get done today, but you can tell, okay, Eddie, like, is there something that you wanna talk about? And I'll be like, okay, like so-and-so happened to me, and then we'll facilitate a conversation while we're training, which is really cool because then I don't have all of this plugged up in here and have to pretend that, welcome to Iron Hive Gym, you know? Here's the bathroom. No, like it's not like any other job. And that's why I think I'm gonna be doing this for a very long time.
How do we address that from your point of view to get people to join and participate?
I've been using this phrase a lot. It goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. You can provide all the tools, all the means, all the marketing, all the chit chat with anybody and try your very best to convince them that this is a healthy lifestyle for them. But you cannot force anybody through the door. You cannot force anybody to participate in this. It really comes down to being able to explain in their language. How can I tell someone who has never lifted a weight before that it's safe and it's okay? How can I tell somebody who's pregnant that actually training through your pregnancy is better for you than not training? It comes with being knowledgeable in your realm to facilitate this person's needs. Hey, you're not gonna get super bulky. Trust me, because this is the science behind it. If you do, I crack jokes, you know, I do. I'll pay you 5 million baht if you get bulky with training with me. Because realistically, like these athletes, they eat a lot. And I know for a fact you don't, and you'd have to triple, quadruple the amount that you're eating for that. Or if they're pregnant, would you ask somebody to run a marathon without training for a marathon? It's the same thing. You are literally pushing your body to the limits when you're having a child. People who get their ACL torn, you don't ask them to go running right after surgery. Things like that to facilitate the conversation. But sometimes in a class setting, it just comes to, okay, I'll let you come bring a friend. Come try it out with a friend. If you guys hate it, you won't hear from me again. But it's just open to the experience. But you also have to let them know they're gonna be okay. Like that's the thing. Like you can't just be like, okay, it's gonna be this. We're gonna do squats and then we're gonna do a deadlift and then we're gonna do this, that, and then kettlebell swings for 20 minutes. They're gonna run in the other direction. But it's leveling with the person. Like I would be intimidated. I would be so scared to do something. I was really nervous to do my first CrossFit class. And then I realized, okay, now going into it, I have Oy and James there and they really facilitate who I am and they know that, okay, she's a little intimidated about doing kipping pull-ups or swinging from the bars, you know? But it's just a little bit by bit. It goes back to regression and progression. Meet the person where they're at. Make sure that the complexity of the task matches the ability of the person. And that really changed my perception on everything. Because you're not gonna be successful if you're providing people with the wrong tools. They ask for a spoon and you give them a knife. Where's the knife gonna go, Nick? In you.
Oh, good. That was
Keep that in
delicate.
there,
Yeah, there you
Arrow.
go.
Because I tried to think about it. I was like, Keen, trust me, the horse does something. I just don't remember what it is right now.
Talk to me about Exodus. What is Exodus and how did that kind of mindset lead you to want to do this?
That is an awesome experience for me. Like being able to see new people come in to Iron Hive and be able to help them in the way that Iron Hive has helped me. So that's just been a real journey. So Exodus is an educational institution that is providing workshops, seminars on all things on the scale of wellness, health, movement, science, all that good jazz. But for me, the purpose of Exodus was actually a passion project for my issue. My issue was, okay, I know I'm only 25, but we're thinking long term here. It's where am I gonna find myself hitting the ceiling with personal training? Because I can only give my hours to a certain extent, right? We only have 24 hours. So technically, if I have no life, I can only fit in 24 hours of PT for the rest of my existence. So what do I do in order to, you know, break through the ceiling or move laterally in terms of my career? And that's honestly, that's the case for every trainer. That's the case for every coach. It's like, how do I progress? Because I've already mastered my regressions here. So Exodus was a solution to that problem because I've always wanted to be an educator. I've always wanted to, I tell Keen all the time, that's why I love my job, because whatever I can consume in terms of educating myself, I feed back out. It's not one ear out the other, it's just in the mind and then out of the mouth. So that's how it came about for me. And also I have partners in Exodus as well, and we share the same vision for it. It's to be able to provide my colleagues, myself, my partner, other people in the industry, opportunity to see themselves grow without hitting the ceiling again, and not have to sacrifice more hours of PT for doing things like, you know, educating in something that you're passionate about. For example, Nick, if you really wanted to do something on rugby and the mechanics behind rugby, or even just why rugby is rah cool, you know? Like, I would be like, yes, Exodus, workshop, let's go, Nick, you know? Because it facilitates opportunities for people to talk about what they're passionate about. That's what we want. We want educators who are passionate, are experts in their field, who can just tell from the heart that they care about you absorbing this knowledge. Because, you know, you can go to class. You've all been to school. Like, if it's monotone, boring stuff that you don't care about, especially for me, the room just gets really foggy and the hearing sense stops and everything else just goes really blurry. But that's also something that we saw, is that there are times where you are trying to consume knowledge or education or further yourself that way. And you can't, because it's not being taught to you in a way that you can consume it. And why is that? Because there's no fire, there's no passion behind it, or you don't trust this person giving you the information because they haven't gone through the process of it. And that's why when we are looking for educators, which is constant, finding the best people who actually care, who actually want to facilitate growth for themselves and for others. So that's like the birth of Exodus education, I guess.
When I see Exodus and, you know, what it will become, it's that kind of platform, you know, it's really cool. But what are you most looking forward to with Exodus?
For me, I selfishly want to attend every workshop and seminar. Like, I want to be there. I want to absorb it just as much as maybe the other participants will as well, alongside being able to teach what I love. I'm just so, like, my excitement with Strong Peach is the same excitement when it comes to this stuff, because I look at it the same way. Can we come up with another word for empowerment? Like, it's so wholesome. It's just fantastic, you know, like, to be able to see, definitely absorbing information of all these incredible coaches and being able to take what they love and see what I can do with it as well, absorbing it and maybe teaching my clients or finding a new way for me to progress. But also just find people who want to learn what I love and be able to teach it in a way that facilitates them best. Leveling with people and being like, hey, this is something that I found really, really helpful and I think is really helpful for you. How do you want to consume this information? What works best for you? Because I don't have to do whiteboard and marker if real life application is better, if movement application is better, if us just chatting is better. And that's like the beauty of Exodus, is that the educators have full reign of how they want to be doing their sessions, their workshops. And it doesn't have to be just, okay, here are the mechanics of how to squat. Let's talk about real in-depth stuff. It's something that's super, super minor. How do you get yourself from doing straight pull-ups to kipping? I don't know. Let's find somebody who does. Nick, how do I make sure that I don't get completely obliterated when I play rugby? I don't know, you know. So that's the beauty of it. And I can learn from this experience and find ways that I can maybe teach my clients how to brace better, to absorb power, to absorb force, things like that that can translate to different aspects of training, of life, of maybe mental capacity. So it's really limitless. And that's something that you don't see in an opportunity, that anything can be facilitated here for anybody who has the drive and the willpower to put something forth that is really something they're proud of. Because obviously you're not gonna half-ass something that you have to present yourself. I would hope not. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm excited about. Obviously to teach and to be taught.
Would there be something you would go back and tell yourself from the past?
Be gentle with yourself. Because at the end of the day, re-looking at everything that you're doing, questioning everything you're doing, beating yourself up for that, you don't have any control over what your life is gonna look like. You just have to make sure you show up every time. You're gonna make mistakes. Those mistakes will be the best things that you've ever done. You're gonna keep making mistakes, and those mistakes are gonna become the next best thing that you're ever gonna do. Failure is not failure. Failure is a learning curve. And I still tell that to myself to this day. But younger Eddie, what you're doing is enough, and it will always be enough. So you don't have to strive so intensely, but continue to work hard, that's it.
So what's next for you, competitively, professionally? What's next for Eddie?
I think professionally, it's putting myself out there as an educator and really pushing myself in that regard. Because it's something that nobody would be comfortable doing for the first time. It's definitely a challenge. And it's a brand new start to a brand new career. Like, it does take what I've learned from coaching, of course, but I've had to learn a whole new facet of skills now. And I wanna be good at that. That's definitely something I'm looking forward to. I mean, building a company, God help me, but I think it's gonna be an experience of a lifetime. And I feel like if you have the intentions of helping others, you really can't go wrong. So I have full faith in Exodus and what we're doing. In terms of training, I stopped I retired from powerlifting 3 days ago, as of today. That's because I want to facilitate myself in experiencing other realms of fitness. Powerlifting has served me incredibly. It's been an immense experience. And I've retired, this is my second time. So I did go back the other time, but now I can say I'm retiring for good, to better facilitate the things that I want to do as a career as well, and see where I can take myself physically and learn new things. Like today, like our glute exercise came from obviously knick-knacking and research and stuff, and being able to put that forth and apply it to you guys brings me so much. Yeah, I think there's a lot on the horizon that I'm looking forward to. It's gonna be a lot of work, but that's what all good things are, so I'm excited.